All right, greetings. This is Ann Sieg, founder of the e-commerce business school, coming at you with the voice of e-commerce. We're just hooking up our electrons here, and I want to make sure that we've actually made it officially live. And I should have known better. I should have had that other page open just so I can check. So let's just make sure that we're live. 1 second. And I'm excited for today's call because it's kind of a unique topic, and I'm thrilled to see that this is actually becoming, apparently, I can't say a national holiday, but something that's being recognized. Intergenerational acknowledgement. Okay, it looks like we are live. Great. Okay, so I want to make sure that happened. I always start just a little bit early to make sure all the electrons have hooked up, and it looks like we've done a good job of doing that. So again, this is Ann Sieg. I'm the founder of the e-commerce business school, and this is the voice of e-commerce. We host this call every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard. And the voice of e-commerce is the broadcasting arm of the e-commerce business school. And this is our goal, is to display to the public that we are real people who have a go-giving community that supports and empowers each other. So I'm thrilled to have you here. And we're going to help take your business to the next level with this edition of the Voice of E-commerce. Bingo, we are right at the top of the hour, 12 o'clock. I'm going to guess a lot of you are just catching your lunch. And so this is good timing for you. All right, just to give you a quick overview, as you can see, we have a gentleman here with me today. His name is Dave Ballback. Hey, Dave.
Hi.
And I'm going to let you learn a whole lot more about Dave in just a moment. So what's going on is this is Intergenerational Month. I did not even know that this existed until just recently, but it really fits and suits the e-commerce business school and our mission. And for those of you who have attended our new member orientation, I always acknowledge when there's couples in the audience, which there frequently are, and they are very warmly welcomed in. Husband and wife teams, family teams, father-son teams, they're all over the place. And I'm really, really fond of this because it goes back to our roots as a country when we were primarily an agrarian country, and which meant these were independent business owners through the farms. And so it's really exciting to see this shift that I'm able to help facilitate through the e-commerce business school as people are moving out of corporations and they're starting their own businesses and they're doing it within their family. I am an example of that. I started my business, kitchen table business, while my husband was working our windshield business, and was doing pretty well. Hit some snags, and then I talked to my eldest son about it, and he said, "Mom, you need to go online." Okay, my life changed dramatically for the better after I went online. But all to say, I was doing so well, I reached out to my eldest son and I said, "I could really use your help." And he joined me in the business, and we did some really awesome things together. And since that time, my middle son, who's a sourcing agent in China, has also worked here in the e-commerce business school. And my youngest son is in the customer care department here at the e-commerce business school. So I'm a really big believer in family businesses. All right, so just know that we really, really encourage that. And if you're in my master's program, that's where I give a lot of advice to my members about how to cultivate and nourish that family enterprise. All right, so let's get to our guest visitor here today, Dave Ballback. And so Dave, for the benefit of the folks who are listening, it always helps to know, number one, where you're located and a little bit of background of your professional work and what you've done.
Okay. Yeah, I'm located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it's getting chilly here very quickly. It's supposed to warm up a little bit though, but yeah, we love Pittsburgh. I've been here almost all my life. A few years in Cincinnati, and my professional career. Well, I started out as a youth minister back in the early '90s, and then after that, I went into mental health counseling and have been doing that for, I guess, almost 20 years now, until I guess it's almost 2 years since I left that full time. I've been doing that part time last couple of years as well. So professionally, that's where I am.
Okay, awesome. So that's your background. And you also have a family of how many children?
We have 6 children, three that two in college, one in middle school. And then we adopted a sibling group of 3 from the foster care system, and they're 2 in elementary school and 1 in preschool. I just dropped her off about half hour ago. And
It's,
yeah,
it's fair to say you're pretty busy.
yeah, we're pretty busy.
You're pretty busy, and life got a little bit interesting. Your dad, John Ballback, whom I've known, I believe, over 10 years, actually, thereabouts, 9 or 10 years, John Ballback, and your mom, Kathy. So they have been longtime subscribers of mine, and then they moved into the e-commerce business school. And then what happened that you and your dad and mom got a little more connected?
With me or with them?
Well, with you, what was the storyline of your dad reaching out to you?
So yeah, in November of 2016, so almost 2 years ago, when my job was going south quickly, the corporation was going through a lot of stressful changes, and it just so happened to be the same week that we were going through the adoption as well.
Oh,
That I wasn't planning on it. I was going to go on family medical leave. I ended up leaving my job 4 days before adoption. So I did have the part-time counseling already lined up. I'd already been doing that a little bit on the part-time side. But with the adoption coming up, we started thinking about the cost of childcare, all the appointments that we had for our younger children's special needs, and just everything else. And we said, well, it's probably best that I would, since my job was going south, my wife's a full-time teacher, and she has always, because of our careers, been more the breadwinner than I was. So it made more sense for me not to pursue another job, but to stay at home with the kids. So that was when my mom and dad were doing local retail arbitrage primarily. And my dad invited me to lunch, I think the week after we had the adoption, and said, let's plan on, maybe you can come into this business and do some, at the time it was going to be some wholesale research for sourcing. That was my goal at the time. So that's what brought me in. I of course I said, I'll think about it, and yeah, maybe I can do that. And it took me a couple months to really start to poke around, start showing up to some of the trainings. I saw Brian and Josie in a training back then, and I really felt like they knew what they were doing, that this wasn't just some type of internet scam or something like that. And I said, well, yeah, I eventually got closer and closer, and that's how we got started. After that, about 8 months after that, or 9 months, my parents went to Colorado with you and learned about the Shopify store opportunities. And then they came home. I thought I was getting ready to do some wholesale research, and then all of a sudden we're researching ideas to maybe start a store. So, so I jumped into that feet first, really about a year ago this time.
yeah, it was about a year ago. What I love about where you guys have landed. So wholesale, you're going to, buy whatever you can sell, right? Now you've dialed it in to a very specific audience that you and your family serve. Right. And what I love about this storyline is it's tied into a topic your wife is an expert at. You're certainly an expert at it because you're in the throes of it. So why don't you explain to the folks how you chose what your Shopify store? I want to explain to the audience too before we get those details from you, Dave. A Shopify store, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are watching, Shopify is a software akin to WordPress for people who are blogging, except Shopify is made for e-commerce. And so John and Kathy wanted to start the store, and I didn't know that exact timeline, so I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Then it was, well, what are we going to sell? So why don't you walk us through that conversation and then where it landed and how it matches so beautifully?
Yeah, it's really, we got together and we threw out a few different ideas. My mom likes to garden, so it was gardening supplies. Well, everyone has garden supplies, and we were thinking, I don't even remember what the other option was. And then my wife just mentioned to me, like, I was thinking, well, I'm a counselor. We don't really have products for counseling, but with her being a special ed teacher, she said, well, our kids are dealing with sensory issues because of their history of trauma. And we were really, struggling with some of their behaviors outside the home. And she said, there's these weighted blankets, there's other sensory items, compression vests, compression shirts that might be a good thing. So the three of us met, and my mom and dad and I, and we prayed about it, and we thought about it, and we said, we kind of took a blind vote, wrote down which of the three options that we came up with, and all three of us chose the sensory store. So that's how we started with it. Of course, we had to come up with a name and a logo and all that kind of stuff, and that stuff is continuing to evolve. But yeah, that's how we started with it.
Yeah, that is so cool. So just to let members know, the Ballback family, or I think Sharon Irwin has called you Team Ballback, because you guys have had some fun results this past week. I can see you guys with jerseys with that, but landing at Fostering Calm is your brand name. I love it because I come from the background of information marketing and positioning yourself as an expert, which your family is so suited to do that because your wife is a special ed teacher, you've been a counselor, you have 3 children with sensory processing disorder. And so I was excited to work with you guys. And I remember our first workshop in December, and we were doing the empathy mapping.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. Her name was, what was the name we had for her? Beth. Yes, it was Beth. And so this empathy mapping is a really powerful exercise that we do as we're helping people develop out their marketing funnel and their brand. Very, very powerful exercise. But I was personally very excited because I see so much potential because of your expertise and knowledge, and that this is your daily existence, is helping your children with sensory processing disorders. We'll talk about, so you've got your store set up, you have gotten products, you also started some print on demand, I believe.
Yes, yeah. So we did some print on demand. We now have a line for that we're continuing to expand on, that has shirts focusing on adoption. And we're working right now on adding some shirts that focus on sensory processing issues, and just trying to come out from a little bit of a fun side and being sympathetic to people's needs, but just really helping to raise awareness for this type of thing. But also, there's a lot of parents out there that have adopted sibling groups or adopted children with a history of trauma that really feel alone. And we've been there. We were foster parents early on in our marriage in the late 90s. And then we decided to take a break while we raised our 3 older children. And then we knew we wanted to get back to it, so we did. And we knew we wanted to come out from an area of children that needed help, children that would have behavioral issues. So, but you want to do that. You say you're prepared for it. We say we're professionals. We've done this before. And then when you get into it, it can be very difficult. And it is it's more than a full-time job. It's your life, because it's 24/7. You go on vacation, and, we went to Disney World, and there was, behaviors all over the place. So, it's just really trying to meet the needs of these kids. But, oftentimes people can feel alone. So that's one thing that we're trying to provide to families through our store, through our Facebook page, and through our Facebook group.
So what I love about what you've accomplished with your family, and by the way, I just want to mention to people, please by all means share this story. I think it's incredibly powerful. You have actually formed a business ministry. It's a ministry tied in with a business. And to me, that is a really incredible blend, because I know you're a person of faith. And by having those two together, it's actually kind of giving a fuller dimension to already your existing life, what you're doing as a dad, raising these 3 children that you adopted with their sensory processing disorders. And you're so perfectly suited for this, to encourage and support, and yet make this a business that you can earn a livelihood from. So I'm watching the clock, because I know you have, your business or your service as a counselor, and you have an appointment coming up here real quick. So I want to watch the clock here. Let's do this. I know that within our e-commerce master's program, there's a really amazing support network. For those of you who don't know, that's one of our high-level mentorship groups, and such that people were really excited about what you're doing. And I believe some of the members have already bought from you for people they know, children who have sensory disorders. So I shared the link. It's fosteringcalm.com. You're doing regular Facebook Live, so you have your own Facebook page. So by all means, folks, I know that the whole spectrum of sensory disorder it's ascending. That's my understanding is these issues. I think autism is looped into this. It's a growing population, and I would love for people to be served through you and your family. So is there a product that has been especially helpful for people, or something that you can offer to the folks who do have an immediate need they could use from you?
Yeah, I think something that we found very useful is the weighted blanket. So we have the night sky weighted blanket, which is really our most popular one that people are looking at a lot. And they come in various weights. So you can look for weighted blankets for children or adults on our site. They're two different links. So make sure if you want a smaller one or a larger one, or there's also an extra large one for people that, you know, don't want their feet to stick out there, a little taller like me. But weighted blankets are a great way to help, that we found for our children to help calm them. In fact, the first night we used one with our daughter, we get a behavioral chart every day for her from school. The very next day, she got all stars, which
Wow.
she hadn't done. I mean, she wasn't even close to that before. And even 2 weeks after that, we had a meeting with the teachers, and they said, "What new medication did you put her on to?" But we didn't. We just had her use a weighted blanket.
Wow.
So, you know, they can really help calm a child who is anxious or has ADHD. And, you know, the senses that just are always on guard because of their history, it just helped calm her down. And even this year, we had a great start to the school year. And I think it's a lot of that attributes to the weighted blanket. So we're just telling our story that this is what we see with our child, and then people can see if it's helpful for them.
Awesome.
So that's one product that I think are highly proud to have in our lineup.
And I've used it, so to speak. It was when we did that meeting in December of 2017, and I liked it. I had it on my lap, and I totally get the dynamics, the physiology of how that would help a person. So the weighted blanket, I'm going to personally look up that link out of your website and then post it in the comments section below for folks.
I can send that to you as well if you'd like.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be even better.
Okay.
So just in closing, because I know you got to scoot, has this been in working with your mom and dad, which you probably never saw coming, but here you have this business with them. Has that strengthened your relationship? And is this something that you would encourage for others?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's brought us closer together. It helps us to communicate. You know, when I was working full time, I get caught up in my job and don't always get to talk to my parents. And we had, you know, for the past 3 years had 6 children in our home, and at the time too, we're preparing to go to college. So, you know, we're busy. This helps us to be able to sit down and have a common goal that, you know, for the first time in my career, that we really have been able to really spend some time together. And, you know, and that leads to relaxing times as well. It's not always all business,
Right.
but we've gotten along. We've worked through some issues. There's no issues that we really had to work through, but it's just, you know, we seem to come to the same conclusion on a lot of things. So, you know, it's been a really good thing for me and my parents to be involved in, and with my wife and kids as well, to be involved with, you know, just being able to get together a little more than we ever would have before. Exactly. And with the job, it was also the commute that I had. You know, I had an hour-long commute before and after work. So, you know, it was just to get to downtown. It was a little rough. So this frees up the time that we have to spend with each other as well.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time, sharing your story. I'm super excited for you and your mom and dad. So folks,
one more thing if I could.
Okay, sure.
A discount. So there's a discount that we can give on our weighted blankets, on our apparel,
Okay.
We can also give it on the sunglasses. Check out those sunglasses.
Oh,
They're very bendable and very good for kids that are really rough on glasses. Our kids' regular glasses, I have a pair over there that's broken right now to take back, but these ones are pretty much indestructible.
nice.
And then there's also some compression shirts. But if you use the code EBS15, we can get 15% off all of that.
Nice.
Plus anything over $50 is a free shipping.
Oh my. Okay. So EBS 15,
Uh-huh.
anything over $50 is free shipping. Well, thank you. That's very generous.
And that'll be good until the code will be good until the end of this month.
Perfect. Okay. I'll make a note of that in the comment. Well, thank you again so much, Dave. I'm really proud of your family and your efforts. And you've had some big breakthroughs this past week that I love seeing you win our award, our weekly award through the e-commerce fast Fasters program. It's always fun. So, alrighty. Well, God bless and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And thank you for all that you do, and Brian and everyone else on the team. Really, really helpful.
You're very welcome. All right. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and go ahead and share if you could and give us a like. All right. Till then. Bye-bye, everyone.